Welcome back to Papa Z's Bees. We've got an interesting day here for you. We did an inspection on the corner hive, and these are the things we're going to look for as we go. We're going to check for resources in the medium box, check the brood frames, and check to see if this hive is swarmed. I kind of feel like it has. If it has, you can see the other things we're going to do here, including split if necessary to prevent a swarm if it hasn't swarmed. So at the beginning, this is going to be just like a normal hive inspection. One thing we're going to do, we have the feeder shim on top here, so we're going to remove that feeder shim because we'll no longer need it for the rest of the year because we'll be in the nectar season pretty soon. As I soon find out, we're already in the nectar season. Pull this off and set it aside. The next thing we'll do is we're going to go through the medium super, which is kind of like the bees grocery store. We let them put honey in there, and that's for them to consume when they need it. Anything above this is what we will harvest and use for ourselves. This honey super here will have enough honey to last them for quite a while, mostly through most of the winter. First thing I noticed when I first pulled this out, which is an edge frame, that it is capped honey. It's not just nectar, but it's capped honey. So they've been pulling in nectar for a while because the difference between nectar and honey is nectar is like equivalent to 1-to-1 sugar and water, and honey is more like 3 or 4-to-1 sugar water. So they've really dehydrated that. As I'm starting to go through here, I'm seeing more and more bees, which is a good sign, thinking, well, maybe they didn't swarm. I'm going to go through these and just check them, just to make sure that I'm seeing seeing the honey all the way through. The closer you get to the middle is actually where you would expect to see honey if there wasn't any on the edge. But since there's some on the edge, I'm really feeling like that there's honey all the way across. So I'm going to put it back together because I've seen what I want to see at this point, and then we need to get down in the brood box. So I'm going to pull this honey super off and stack it up over there where I can check the brood box. And when I picked it up, I almost broke my back. It was like 25-30 pounds of honey, which is about what you'd expect for a full medium super. So now we're going to look in here and see if we can tell if they have indeed swarmed. I felt like about a week before this that there was some swarming activity. They were really flying out, and I really was afraid they had swarmed, but it was bad weather, so I really couldn't get to them. But I also didn't think they would have swarmed either. First thing I noticed is the frames are kind of light, which means there's not much honey on them. But I'm also noticing that there's not a whole lot of brood on there either. And brood are baby bees. They start out as eggs, and they hatch after 3 days, turn into larvae, and are larvae for about a week or so, and then they turn into a pupa, and they're capped. And then when they come out of their pupa state, then they will emerge. They'll chew their way out and emerge. Again, another frame here with lots of bees on it, but not much brood. So if you don't have brood, that pretty much tells you that the queen is gone. But one thing I am also noticing is that I've got queen cups and cells. A queen cup is this little piece of wax that the bees create that looks about like a peanut. If there's no egg in it or no larvae in it, it's called a queen cup. But as soon as the queen lays an egg in it, it becomes a queen cell. So I'm seeing queen cells as well as cups, mostly cells, which means they've already laid eggs in there and they're getting ready to hatch. One thing I found right quick is there was a damaged queen cell, and sure enough, I'm going to bring it over and show it to my wife on the camera. And as I get close, she crawls out. So the queen is right there, and I'm trying to catch her. I'm going to put her in a queen clip so I can save her. But as I try to capture her, she flies away and I lose her. So I'm not sure if she went back in the hive or if she just went somewhere else. I'm hoping she went back in the hive. But needless to say, regardless of that, I'm going to go ahead and split this hive because it's because it's an opportunity with all the queen cells to be able to make sure you have a viable queen in both the home hive here, as well as a new nucleus hive that I'm going to create. So I'm going to pull 3 frames of bees and queen cells and take them over into another area of the yard and pack those bees in that, and hopefully we'll have a resource hive, which we'll talk about later as we go through this. So what you'll do is you pull 3 frames out and drop them in this hive butler, which is a neat way to be able to carry things around. And then I'm taking empty frames with just nothing but foundation on them, and we'll let the bees build those out. This is a good time of year to do that build out because there's a lot of nectar in, and it takes quite a bit of nectar / honey to be able to create wax. So you want to do this when there is a good flow coming, or you have to feed them. So there's actually some brood on this frame that I'm putting in the box, which is good because they'll need some more bees as they hatch. And then so we'll put replace those 3 foundation, or those 3 frames that we took out with bees on them, and we'll replace those with these empty frames. Trying to get all this done. There's a lot of, I was so surprised at what I found. One of the things I'm going to do here is I'm going to shake some more bees over in the box, because what will happen, a lot of especially if they're older bees who are foragers, if they're in this nuke box, they're probably more than likely going to come back to this box. So now we're going to put it all back together. We've got them all set with their 3 frames of foundation, and let them build those out. See, lots of bees still there, so even though it swarmed, she still left a lot of bees there, or the bees actually stayed, because the bees make the choice. The bees tell her when it's time to to swarm. So now, once we get this thing all put back together, we're going to go over to the nuke yard area that I have set up. And again, a nucleus is just a nucleus hive, which is a small starter hive that you use. When we first got our bees last year, we purchased nukes. Now this is a smaller box. It's a 5-frame box, and we're going to put those frames with bees on them in this box. And we'll use this as a resource for queen or for frames or whatever. So you just drop those in the box, and you'll have to supply 2 more frames because we're only bringing 3 over. 3 of those frames with foundation in them, and foundation is just a stub. It's just a kind of an imprint where the bees will build wax cells on top of those. And in transit between the little nuke, the parent hive and this nuke area, some of the bees have dropped off, which was expected. And so once we get the foundation in there, then we'll shake the bees in there, these remaining bees. See quite a few still on the bottom there. So you just basically shake them or tap them, and they'll go down in the box. And we're going to put the cover on it. And because there's not much food on those frames that we brought over, I decided it's probably a good idea to go ahead and feed them. So what we're going to do is use the opening in the top of the inner cover there, which is the piece that's left on the frame after I took that outer cover on. Use a quart jar full of 1-to-1 sugar water. And the lid has little small holes drilled into it, so when you turn it upside down, like I'm doing there, a vacuum forms and it won't let it drip out. So they'll have to come up and stick their tongues up basically into the jar to feed on it. And so I'll check these and watch them over the next few days. They have a hive gate in front, which we can talk about later, which is a way to prevent robbing. Interesting to me. This was very interesting. I hope it was interesting to you. I really appreciate you watching. I hope you'll subscribe and tell others, because we really want to get the word out about how fun beekeeping is. Thanks.